Hi everybody, Brent Jones, New Home Source Realty. How are you? Thought we'd do a quick little Facebook Live. Usually when something happens, it triggers me to do a Facebook Live. So I was speaking to a family that's going to be moving to Texas from California. We were talking yesterday, and it just kind of reminded me of some of the things that I'd like to share on Facebook Live as per if you are moving to Texas. Now, I did another video several months ago about moving to Texas, and if you have any interest, feel free to, you can pull it up on my Facebook page, Brent Jones Realtor, or you could pull it up on my YouTube channel as well, which is also Brent Jones Realtor. But that kind of gets into the culture of Texas and the history of Texas, and I'm not going to get into all that today. But I just want to kind of talk about maybe more of the economics of moving to Texas and some of the differences and the changes that you're going to see if you were to move from whatever state you're in and you're going to move to Texas. So for openers, I think you're going to be very, very pleased as to how far your home buying dollar is going to go in Texas. Our market is significantly, our home prices, our medium home prices, significantly less in Texas than it is in multiple other different areas of the country. For instance, California, New York, their housing market is probably 3 to 3.5 times higher there than it is here. So for instance, and I've never been good at math, so let's keep the math simple. A $250,000 house in Texas would easily go for $750,000, $800,000, maybe even higher than that if it were in California. So when people move here from California and New York, you can come here and you can buy a little McMansion. You can sell your house in the state that you're coming from, and you can, I kid people, I say you're going to sell your house there and you're going to come to Texas with a truckload of cash, and you can buy a little dream home McMansion, and you can still deposit several hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you're going to be very pleased with how far your home buying dollar goes in Texas. Weather. When I say weather, I'm talking about weather like spring, summer, fall, winter. People have this idea that it's just ridiculously hot in Texas. It can get hot June, July, and August, but I have families that have moved here from Arizona, and they talk about living in a living hell. I mean, it's hot there all the time, 125 degrees. Are you kidding? We never get anything like that in Texas. Let's briefly talk about the weather in Texas. Since it's January, let's start with the first month of the year. If we're going to get any snow and ice, and I'm primarily talking about North Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is where I'm based and where I've lived all my life. In North Texas, if we're going to get any snow and ice, typically we get it January and February, if we get any. And obviously we can go several years, several winters without getting any snow or ice at all, or maybe just a little dusting. When I was a kid, we would look forward to it snowing, but unfortunately it would snow one day and be melted the next. So our winters are very mild here. I can remember playing football with my brothers in the front yard during Christmas break, and we were in shorts and t-shirts. But if we're going to get any ice and snow, it's going to be January, February. March, typically the weather starts changing and we begin to start coming out of winter and going into spring. April and May is definitely spring, and we get a lot of rain typically in April and May. June, July, and August, it's going to get a little toasty here in North Texas in June, July, and August. And by toasty, I mean it's easily going to be in the 90s, and it would not be unusual to be triple digit. Not all the time, but it would not be unusual. So our hot time of the year is June, July, and August. September, it starts to cool back down, especially the second half of September. And then when you get into October, that's Texas State Fair time, we always get a cold front. At some point in October, we get a cold front, and summer is officially over. We are 100% into fall, and the weather is going to be like in the 50s, 60s, that kind of thing. November, December, you can probably expect highs in the 50s. So that's a little rundown on the weather. Our wet months of the year would be April and May, and then October. That's when the seasons really change. Taxes. I talk to people about wanting to come here and buy a house, and they go, oh my God, your property taxes are just ridiculous. First of all, our property taxes are not ridiculous. They might be higher than where you are, but let me tell you this, taxes, you want to talk about taxes? Your tax liability in Texas is going to be lower than almost any other state where you're coming from, especially if you're coming from California, New York, Washington, any of that. Texas does not have a state income tax. This gentleman I was speaking with from California, he couldn't even remember what his state income tax is. I think it's 13.5%, but I think California Governor Newsom passed where it's going to be 18.5%. Okay, so just for openers, you move to Texas, that's going to save you a minimum of 13.5%. Don't talk to me about taxes in Texas. Say that 3 times. Taxes in Texas. Don't talk to me about taxes in Texas. Your tax liability in Texas is going to be lower, probably significantly lower than where you're coming from. So if you just specifically pick out property taxes, let's talk about your total overall tax liability. It's going to be lower. You're going to pay less tax in Texas than you are from whatever state you're coming from. I'm not going to get into politics. I would say overall Texas would be a more conservative type state. I would really call it more patriotic than conservative. Texas is a very welcoming, diverse state. Patriotic, yes, patriotic as far as being American, and I think patriotic also as far as being Texan. People from Texas, and I can date my family back over 150 years here in Texas. You're proud to be an American, and you're proud to be a Texan, and we're happy and proud of our history. So, would it be conservative? Probably yes, especially when you compare it to some other states. But I would use the term more patriotic than anything else. But again, Texas is very diverse and very open and very welcoming. You're going to find some of the nicest, friendliest, most helpful people ever here in Texas. What else? The economy. Let's talk about the economy real quick. Inflation is hitting the whole country, and Texas is not immune to that. We're going to have some inflation here as well. But the economy is almost always better here in Texas than it is around the rest of the country. Again, this gentleman that I was speaking to from California, I believe he told me the gas prices in California are $5.50 a gallon. I just filled up my wife's car yesterday, and I think I paid $2.55, something like that. Your overall cost of living is going to be lower in Texas. Again, your property values are going to be lower. Your taxes are going to be lower, but just your overall cost of living is going to be lower in Texas. So anyway, just wanted to kind of say a few things. Again, I did another video on Texas, welcome to Texas, a little bit about Texas culture and history and that kind of stuff. You're more than welcome to look that up. If you're moving to Texas, North Texas, I was born and raised here. You might have noticed a little bit of twang in my accent. Anything I can do to be of help to you in the North Texas area, Dallas, Fort Worth, and or all the surrounding North Texas areas, I'm more than happy to do so. Born and raised here. I know a lot, firsthand knowledge of this area, and whatever your goals are, I'll be happy to try to help you achieve that. So again, Brent Jones, New Home Source Realty. Feel free to reach out to me, call me, text me, instant message me, whatever. 214-649-4528. Again, 214-649-4528. Have a great week. Bye-bye.